Welcome to the Vibrant Life Show. This show is all about exploring the purposes God has placed in our lives and the passions He's placed in our hearts to reach the community He has placed us in for such a time as this. Whether we're hearing stories of those living out their purposes, helping you discover your gifts and passions, asking hard questions, or leaning into cultural moments, the hope of the show is to remind us that the life we are created to live is an adventurous one, an authentic one, a meaningful one. We are created to live the vibrant life. Well, hi, everyone. I am your host, Gentry, and welcome to the Vibrant Life Show. Today on the show, we are talking about fighting the fear of being who God has made us to be. So here to talk about that is Jeff Reinhart. So Jeff is a dynamic communicator, writer, traveler, pastor, and husband to Paige. Jeff is the youth pastor at Renovation Church here in Renovation, Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. Jeff and his wife also partner with a missions organization called Developing Workers that provides medical care and pastoral training around the world. He also has led Purpose Phoenix, which is for young adults to grow in this culture, but grow in Jesus and who they are called to be. And in his spare time, he does something with finances. This guy has all the gifts of financial advising. And to add on to that, Jeff has written his first book called Gamechanger. I have it with me right here, and we will link to it in the show notes for all of you who are tuning in. I just want to say welcome, Jeff Reinhart, to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a total honor to be on here with you. And I just want to say it's just been so cool to have a front row seat of what God's doing through your life and through this show. So I just want to tell you, I'm so honored by you and by your life and your ministry and your leadership. And I truly believe that the best is yet to come for you.
Thank you, Jeff. That's Jeff's tagline. Anytime I hear it, I think of Jeff. The best is yet to come. And it's so true. It's so true. And I just thank you for honoring me in that space. For those who do not know, we actually are on staff together full time at Renovation here in Phoenix. But I've actually known Jeff for years. A long time. And it's crazy how God has brought this together because, I wouldn't have thought it many years ago, but how he's brought us on a team together and we're getting to serve not only our city, but actually beyond that. So thank you for honoring us with your time and saying yes to this. It's pretty cool.
Definitely.
So the Vibrant Life Show is about really helping people live into all that God's created them to be. Mm-hmm. And my heart, too, is to remind people that, like, this life, this Christian life, if you will, this life as a believer is not a dull one. No. It's actually really exciting when we really try to live into everything. It's an abundant life that Jesus promises us in John 10:10. And so, but to do that, there's so many fears that keep us from doing that. We could go through a list, and which I want you to dive into today, some of those things. But you wrote this book called Gamechanger with the tagline, Fighting the Fear of Being Who God Made You to Be. Mm-hmm. And so my question for you is, what does it mean to be a game changer? And then what brought you to the place of feeling like, hey, I need to write this. I need to put this out there for people.
Definitely. Yeah, kind of the idea that came with Gamechanger was I was a huge Michael Jordan fan growing up, and he exemplified being a game changer, right? He changed the game of basketball forever. And I remember my little sister, we would convince her to come out in the backyard with us and stand under the hoop, and we'd lower the hoop, and my little brother and I would set up a camcorder, and we would just take turns acting like Michael Jordan and just trying to become like him and just dunk on my sister, like all over my sister. Shout out to Tessa. I don't know why she agreed to that, but it was so much fun trying to emulate his moves and be like him. And so, I kind of make the point in the book is that Jesus is the ultimate game changer in life. And so my definition of what a game changer looks like is someone who's becoming more like Jesus. And with that, I kind of drop a few steps in there to become a game changer. And the first is just recognizing and realizing how much God loves us, because it is ridiculous. Paul says in Romans, nothing will ever separate us from the love of God. And he loves us no matter what we did in the past, no matter our past mistakes, failures, errors, wrongdoing, no matter what, he's going to love us and he's going to forgive us no matter what. And so the second is really owning right? That we are a child of God, the Most High God, the creator of the universe, and he has created us to be a game changer. And so kind of the third step I lay out is just operating in those gifts, right, that he's given us, living life through his spirit and allowing his spirit to empower us and to serve everyone else around us.
Right.
So, and kind of go back to your question, why write the book? Well, I think insecurity and just those fears that come into our lives when we're trying to figure out who we are and trying to live life according to Jesus and the way of Jesus can hold us back. And so I just was thinking, man, as I'm on this journey, as I'm still even to this day trying to figure out my identity in Christ, maybe I can write down a few stories and some little tidbits on how I've started to discover who I am in Jesus.
Yeah, right. And I've read through it. It's phenomenal.
Thank
and it's
you.
a good read and hilarious, which I'm not shocked because that's so you. I was like crying laughing at some of this. People at the coffee shop for sure thought I was weird, but that's fine because I quite enjoyed it. But I love the concept of game changer. So, at our church we talk about game changer moments, but to be a game changer for someone else, for our even for our communities and for our generation, to be that game changer. I remember growing up, I was in sports too. And volleyball was my thing. And I just wanted to be that person that at the end of the day, like if it was a tight game, whatever, like give me the ball. Give me the ball. And I want to be that. I want to be good. If I was playing basketball, I'd be like, please don't give me the ball. Like I could shoot. To someone else. Like that's one thing my dad did was like teach us to shoot, but like I could not do it if somebody was like on me, like defending me. Like I was just like, get away. So I
back up, please.
I played volleyball. So then we were like had a net separating us,
I love that.
But I always wanted to be that person where it's like I wanted to be the game changer player on the court. Mm-hmm. And so I love this concept of giving us tools to be game changers in people's lives around us because people are looking for it. People are needing it, whether they know how to explain it to someone or not.
Right.
And so something you also talked about in the book, you said that the 2 top questions on Google are, do you remember what they are? Because hang on, it says, who am I and why am I here? 2 top searched on Google.
Yes.
And so these are important questions that I think we ask all of our lives. Like, who am I? Why am I here? Who am I? Why am I here? But the thing is that we actually have a lot of these answers.
Right.
In who God is. And so why do you think these are such popular questions that are asked? And did you have moments where you asked that question in your own life?
Definitely. Yeah, I think so many people ask those questions because they're foundational to who we are. And I think a lot of times life can just get in the way. And, as we talk about at Renovation, the whirlwind, right? Like people are just living lives a lot of times just to survive. And so I think when you get to a point where you're surviving, you start to ask those questions of like, okay, how do I thrive now? And with that thriving, I think comes asking some of those fundamental questions that we all have. And so I think, I look back kind of to the first time that I discovered those questions was when we were on this family vacation in Austria. And we, my parents saved up one year for Christmas and they took us on this cruise. And so we ditched the parents one day. We were with my older brother, older sister, and we were running around the city and discovering and adventuring. And then we got to a place where we realized we had no idea where we're at. And we realized that the ship was taken off like in an hour. And so we had to get all the way back to where we came from. And so we're running around and we found the subway station, but we still had no idea where we went or where we were going. And so I grabbed a map and I was like, don't worry, I'll solve this, guys. Don't even worry about it. And I'm looking at this map and I'm like, this makes no sense. Mm-hmm. Well, I realized when my brother came over, he goes, why are you looking at the map upside down and backwards, dude? and that's kind of when I realized, I think a lot of us have that moment in life. It's like, man, where am I going? And a lot of times we try to search out those answers through the wrong methods. And so eventually, we tracked down some guy and his 2 kind of questions to us were like, who are you guys? And where are you going? And that's the first time it really hit me. It's like, man, who am I and where am I going in life as I kind of debrief that? And so that really led me kind of on this journey of like, man, how do I discover who I am and where I'm going in life? And I think for us and as Christ followers, that's in the person of Jesus, right? We've got to go to the creator as creative people or created people, creative too, but created people. We've got to go to the creator to discover who we are and what our purpose is in life.
And so I talk on here a lot because when you're saying like who we are and our purpose, one of the things that I challenge people, and I challenge myself, is to, when I meet new people, not go straight to the thing where I ask them what they do.
Ooh.
Because people associate who they are with what they do.
Yes.
And so I say, what are you passionate about? Or like, what wakes you up in the morning? People will be shocked when you ask those questions. They're like, oh, whoa, this girl's way too intense. And it's true, I'm an intense human. So
you know.
I knew you were laughing because you know it's true. So like, what do you do? Like, one, I want to know, why do you think we tend to go straight to that question of what do you do? And then I want to also ask you, like, what are you passionate about? Because I know what you do, but like, what are you passionate about? So however you want to answer that question in whichever way best fits.
Yeah, definitely. I think just even in our society, I think we attach value to our vocations and what we do. And I think, we've kind of gotten into this rhythm as a society where your job defines who you are and how successful you are. And I think we really need to redefine what success actually means.
That's good.
And I think success to me comes out of who I am, because who I am can inform what I do. But if we don't get who we're becoming, man, we're going to miss out on our purpose in life and who we're created to be by God. And so, yeah, I think that's where, it really begins that search. And it's hard. It's hard to kind of move past that. But to answer your question, what am I passionate about? Man, I'm passionate about people. And I'm passionate about God, and I'm passionate about seeing people live out their purpose on earth, because the reality is that, man, we cannot find our purpose in life through our jobs. It just can't happen, because, man, those things are great things. Don't get me wrong, but they don't satisfy us. And so they're not foundational to who we are. And so really that purpose should come through relationship, right? Number one, relationship with God, but number two, relationship with others. And so I'm passionate about, man, people finding their creator, finding the person who loves them unconditionally and that can give them their ultimate purpose in him.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is true. It exudes from your life, Jeff. And so everything you said is not a shock to me. Like, that's your passion. I've never heard you quite put it like that, but it's absolutely evident in your life. And so I think when we've laid that foundation of who God has created us to be, how we need to like rest in who he is and how he loves us and that we are called and that we have this purpose, and it's outside. A lot of times it can come through what we do, but that doesn't make us who we are. Right. And so if you're just joining us, this is the Vibrant Life Show with Allie Gentry, and I'm here with Pastor Jeff Reinhardt, and we are talking about facing the fears that keep us oftentimes from living into everything that God has created us to be. And there are a lot of fears that keep us from that, Jeff. Like, I mean, I know some of my top fears. So what do you feel like what are a few fears that maybe you yourself have had to overcome, and some of the fears that you've written about in the book that people have to face to be able to live this out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the biggest one that comes to my mind is just fear of others. I think, man, I have done so much stuff and I've walked into a lot of hurt because I was trying to do things to impress other people. And really, that was the biggest fear that I've had to overcome is, God, help me to overcome, right? This fear of rejection, this fear of other people, this fear of what others might think. And I remember it kind of brings me to a story of like, when I felt like God was calling me into church work, I was working in the business sector for an investment company in Santa Barbara, California. Like, legit, I had the lifestyle, I had the girlfriend, I had the ultimate job, right? And I started to define my success by those things and started to see my identity and attach value to those things. Well, when that all kind of came crashing down, when my dad had this massive stroke, it shattered my world because I was building my things on things that weren't eternal. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think when we do that, we set ourselves up with a house of cards. And, it takes one hardship, one trial, one trauma, one painful experience to knock those cards down and to leave us in pieces. But what I love about God is that he picks those pieces up and he creates something so beautiful out of it. And that was really the first time in my life where I discovered, wow, I've been building my life on the wrong things. I need to come back to who I am in Christ, because that's where I'm going to be able to overcome the fear. That's where I'm going to be able to overcome the rejection that I might face with other people. And when I was getting called to church work, I ended up quitting my job, which was crazy, to go to Kenya. Now, I'm not saying if you feel called to something to quit your job right away and go to, a foreign country like Kenya. That's just what I felt like God was leading me towards. But it was crazy because when I moved back to Phoenix, it felt like I was a total failure because I had other people saying, why would you do that? Why would you quit such an amazing job? And you were so successful out there. That a lot of times people are going to misunderstand you following after Christ and stepping out in faith. And a lot of times it's going to be the people closest to you, which is the hardest part because they care for you and they love you, but they might not understand you stepping out in faith and following Christ is what you're called to do and your purpose in life. And so, yeah, it was hard, right? Because I'm such a people pleaser. So it was hard to overcome a lot of that rejection, a lot of those questions, but I just kept coming back to, you know what? I'm a child of God and I need to let that define me, and I need to find my worth in that instead of the praise of other people.
Right. That's so good. That's a huge fear. Huge. And I just know that when our fear and our faith occupy the same space, and a lot of times when we step out in faith, it's not necessarily that we don't have any fear. Right? Am I right? Because some people, some of the stuff that we do, people are like, oh, I've jumped out of airplanes, okay? And I'm like, oh gosh, I had to have more faith that thing was going to open than the fear to not even get on the plane. But once I got to a certain altitude, I was like, what am I doing? And I think that's a lot of times what we do when we step out in faith, but our faith was greater than that fear that could have kept us from experiencing an adventure that we never would have experienced if we had let our fear hold us back.
Right.
And so I think that's a huge one, is other people and people speaking into it. For me personally, I have a fear of it's strange. It's like either not being enough to occupy the space that I feel like maybe God has allowed for me to be in. Yeah. Like I feel like I don't belong here a lot. Imposter syndrome.
Same. Yeah.
And then I also feel like I'm too much for people. Have you ever felt like that?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
Yeah. And it's like this, I feel like I'm going to be overwhelming. I am an intense human, as we've already established. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, poor humans around me, But at the end of the day, we answer for the call that God's put on our lives. When we stand face to face with him,
right,
we can't say, well, our parents said don't do that, or our friend said, what did you think you were doing going to Kenya and coming back to Phoenix? And be like, what in the world? And so I know that you are raising up this next generation, and I'm so proud of you and watching you do this as a youth pastor, but in a lot of other ways. To really be a game changer and to step past our fears, the fear of rejection, the fear of other people, the fear of not being enough, too much, whatever that fear may be, to really live into the vibrant life God has for these kids. So you have a program at church. I would love for you to kind of talk about that, because it's pretty awesome what you're doing with the youth group there.
Yes. Oh my goodness. The Gamechanger program, which I kind of borrowed from my buddy Chris Moore from Pure Heart Church, shout out. He created this incredible influencer program, which is a student leadership program. And he really birthed that out of the pandemic. And when we were all in quarantine and we were trying to get a bunch of students to get on a Zoom call for an hour after they've been on it all day at school. And so it was almost like, it was so cool to see his creativity out of being so confined, I guess, to our circumstances, and kind of through that has created this program to empower our students. And I think one of the biggest things that I find joy in now, and my passion now, is to see these students thrive and to step into their gifts that God's given them. And so yeah, we do that just through, a number of ways, like a Bible study. We study the Bible together and, ask some of those fundamental questions, but we also dive deeper to see, hey, what are you passionate about? What do you feel like God, how has God created you to make a difference in his kingdom? And so we kind of walk alongside these students and enable them and help them to step into their God-given gifts. And I think the story that kind of jumps to mind is we were at camp, and one of our students, JJ, he came up to me and he was like, hey man, I feel like God is calling me to be a worship leader for Reno youth. He goes, but I'm scared. I'm scared that people are going to judge me. I'm scared people are going to, kind of hate on my voice and that my voice isn't good enough. And it's scary, to step out into our graces and our gifts that God's given us. But it's been just so cool to empower him, just speak life and encouragement over him and just say, you got this, bro. You can do it. If God calls you to something, he's going to equip you. Right. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned is let's be an encouragement in people's lives. Let's speak life over them, not death, when they share their hopes and their dreams with us. And it was funny because he came up to me 2 weeks later after camp and after starting on this journey of trying out and being a worship leader. And he comes up to me at church and he goes, hey man, for this Wednesday, because we meet on Wednesdays, he goes, I'm going to need to know what you're talking about, what your message is on, so I can shape the worship playlist around your message. Okay, so if you could get that to me soon, that would be great. I'm like, bro, what happened to you in these last 2 weeks that you just turned full on worship leader expert? But it's just so fun.
He puts you onto another level too as a leader. Which is why I'm laughing so hard, is because whenever people step into their call, a lot of times if you're leading them, it pushes you to step into another space of your leadership too. You're like, oh, I actually have to get
organized.
Yeah.
That's too good. Yeah, maybe it's a blessing and a curse. No, I'm kidding. That's awesome. It was spectacular. He's crushing it.
Yeah, he is. And a lot of the students are even social media and stepping up and doing posts and inviting friends and stuff like that. So I guess as a youth pastor, I don't want to leave this time. I know you're a lot of other things more than that as well. But what do you see that would be helpful for us, that this next generation, what are maybe some of their greatest fears? And then maybe what is something that you would encourage us to do to really pass the baton, if you will, to this next generation, to encourage them to live into being these game changers?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the biggest fears is, I guess, not being good enough or not living up to this certain expectation that a lot of times social media will paint this picture of what, maybe girls need to look like or what guys need to do in life. And so I think there's this fear of falling short, but also just, I think comparison can plague our culture, even for us. I know for me, I struggle a lot with comparing, and I feel like it's kind of Paul's words where he says, live a life worthy of the calling that you received, not someone else received, you received. And with that, I think we need to keep, as Bob Goff says, we need to keep our eyes on our own paper, and we need to stay in our lane, because God can't use who we pretend to be. He uses who we actually are. And I think that we all need to live into the gifts and graces that he's placed on our lives, because he's created us so unique. I mean, I always talk about my buddy Austin. He always talks about there's no one like you, past, present, or future. And it's true. God has created us so uniquely. And I think the more that we live into that uniqueness and that greatness that only we have and that God's given us, I think the better. And I think one of the ways we do that is to fight comparison and be thankful for what God's given us and to champion all our gifts and graces that he's given us in life. So
absolutely. Amen. I was snapping over here. That was so good. So
gospel
many good
snaps.
Things. Yeah, gospel snaps. You know me. So I just really appreciate this, because I just want to encourage people that those things that maybe you think that discount you are probably, I'm just saying, might be the very thing that God wants to use for you to use that unique voice, that unique story, the unique gifts to be a game changer in the community that he's placed you in. Absolutely. And so I just want to say thank you so much for being here, Jeff. You are a gift to my life and to our lives. And I have a little thing that you might be a dad here soon.
That is correct. Hashtag girl dad. Hashtag girl dad. Joining the squad. Come on now. January 30th. My life is changing.
Yeah, it is. So how can people stay in contact with you or connect with you, Jeff?
Yeah, I would just say probably the easiest way is Instagram. So I'm Jeff.Reinhart. And that's it. Sounds like a corporate email or something.
So we'll link to all of that, but Reinhardt is Reinhart. So
Correct.
You want to connect with him just and get his book, Gamechanger, Fighting the Fear of Being Who God Made You to Be. Again, we'll link to that in our show notes, but thank you for being here, Jeff.
Thank you. You are incredible.
Thanks. And everyone, we just want to remind you that every day is an invitation to live the vibrant life. Thank you for joining me on the Vibrant Life Show. I would love to connect with you and get to know you. My favorite place to hang out is over on Instagram at ali.gentry or over on Facebook. You can also go to my website, aligentry.com. That's ALIGENTRY.com. Sign up for my newsletter to stay up to date and get links to the show on all platforms after we air, the show's YouTube channel, and really just all the things. I'm so honored to get to hang out with you today. My heart is that you remember that each day is an invitation to live the vibrant life.